Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DIRTtrackdigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your hosts, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon and welcome to episode number 210 of the 31st Lap. Joining me here momentarily will be Cory Reed. It's been a busy postseason as we get ready for the Advanced Auto Course. Wow, time traveling right there. The modified Super DIRTcar series to take action at the Duel at the Demon here Friday at Brewerton Speedway. We'll get into some more details on that with Cory here in just a minute. And then they're going to be in action the following night at Weedsport. Weedsport's got a two-night battle there with Sportsman Program on Sunday, so we'll get a little bit deeper into that in a few minutes. A couple of housekeeping notes. There were some results actually to report from last weekend. Thankfully, rain stayed away from Utica Rome Speedway, and they were able to get in all of their Coal Cup New Yorker weekend action. Matt Shepard winning the Race of Champions 40 for the Modifieds. It was held in conjunction with the Coal Cup. $10,000 went home with Mark Smith. He had a great race with Chuck Hebing. Picked up the win in that sprint car battle race. Danny Varon chased him across the line. Hebing faded to third late in the going. It's a good week for Varon. That was his third top three finish in three starts, having picked up his first two career 360 sprint wins early in the week. Shepard, of course, he was somebody that you were going to keep your eye on no matter what. Danny Varon was able to close but couldn't do anything with him late in the going. $3,000 went home with him. In that victory, Mark Johnson, Alan Johnson, Tim Fuller filling in the top five there. Kevin Root challenged Rocky Warner, but Rocky Warner's Rocky Warner. And you don't really do a lot with him in terms of a sportsman ride once he gets out in front. He held on for the win. Janchak tried to chase him down, but nobody had enough for Warner. He won for the second time on the weekend. Saturday night, as part of that, he won the King of Dirt Sportsman feature. Nick Stone won the Pro Stock feature. Mike Kaiser won the CRSA Sprint feature. Utica Rome will be back in action Tuesday, October the 4th, with the completion of the Victoria 55. And Race of Champion Modifieds will be on the card, along with the 360 Sprints and the Mod Lights. Paradise Speedway going to kick open the doors for the V8s for the first time in a long time, more than 20 years since the quarter-mile track has allowed sportsmen or sprint cars to be in regular sanctioned action there. The Grit Sportsman Tour, the Hoosier Series, is going to be there this Saturday. And it was a decibel noise meter. There's a lot of different stories and angles that have gone with this deep history there of why the open-wheel cars, or even full-fender cars for that matter, haven't been in action. They've toyed with the idea of street stocks. Four-cylinders have been running there right along, but it was back in 95, 96 when that stuff all had gone away. This sportsman thing promises to draw some pretty serious contenders. The sportsman division drivers such as Fran Hilton that have come through there, Chuck Bauer, Bobby Payne, Scott Ridley. There's certainly a sportsman legacy at that track. It's going to pay $1,200 to win, $125 to start. A 30-lap feature is going to be based on the redraw format. Gates are opening at 4, racing to follow after hot laps, which are slated for 6 o'clock. This is the third to last event for the Grit Hoosier Series. They're going to be racing September 22nd at Glen Ridge, and then rounding out their season will be on the 29th of September at Rolling Wheels. You can find more information at GritRacingSeries.com. Radio Hill Raceway, they are back in action. That's that indoor RC track that we've talked about a bunch of times, where they run what they call the Mud Boss series. It looks a lot like a dirt modified in the Northeast, but it's built on a very, very affordable chassis. A little bit of that you can do to it to make it handle a little bit better in terms of the springs, but mostly it's a stock spec class. Basically, you pull it out of the box and you can race it. They are opening at 2 o'clock on Saturday. Racing falls at 4. It's like $12 to race. The track was perfect last weekend, and it was a ton of fun to see all the new cars there. I saw Stephen Ovens from Turf 5 podcast was at Twisted Raceway in Auburn here last night, and he finished 4th, and in 5 laps, I think he was pushing, or 5 minutes, he was pushing something like 70 laps. It was pretty impressive. So those guys have been spending some time down at Radio Hill as well. We got some more news as some of the special events for that track comes up if anybody's looking for something for their winter blues. But before we worry about winter blues and missing racing, we got a ton of racing coming up for Brewerton and Fulton Speedways. Cory Reed joining us here on the hotline to talk a little bit about that. The Duel at the Demon coming up tomorrow night. with the modified Super Dirt Car Series, and then basically 2 weeks later we're into Outlaw 200 weekend. You guys have got to be just running your backsides off trying to keep up with this busy 2 week stretch.
Yeah, we get pretty busy here right mid September, and pretty much hardcore stuff here from here on out. We ran our weekly program. Don't do a lot of specials through the whole season. Mix in some sprint car stuff and thereabouts. Started the year pretty strong, of course, with Fulton, but with a series show. But we wait till September, and then we really hit it hard. Of course, this duel with the Demon tomorrow night. We come back with a Hurricane 100 during the Super Dirt Week program, our 24th running of that, which is always a really strong event. And then, of course, the Outlaw weekend, the 31st one of those, and then right after that, now we do have the World of Outlaw sprints. So we've got 4 very busy race events in the next 3 weeks.
Take me through how the season's gone. I mean, you guys have had some awesome storylines coming out of there with Tim Kerr coming up with a couple wins. We've seen the Sears guys doing a nice job. Chuck Bauer finally breaking through with a win. Jimmy Phelps over there. Matt Shepard with some of the tour stuff that we've seen with Fulton and Brewerton. Tell me a little bit about how this season has gone and how exciting it was, specifically at Brewerton with essentially a revolving door on Victory Lane.
Probably the biggest thing for us has been the consistency and the track conditions and trying to give the race teams a good racing surface week in and week out. And I'm real proud of the efforts that Eric Fink and Harvey Fink and those guys have put in, giving those guys week in and week out a super racetrack that everybody could pass on. And I can think of very few shows that didn't happen. And I think, I do think that, we had a variety of winners. At one point, I think we had 8 winners and eight races. But a lot of times people say, it's because you couldn't pass. I think it was the polar opposite. I think it was just the track was just right for good guys to race real well, and I think that we saw that week in and week out at Brewerton.
In terms of that track prep thing, it can be so finicky, and the summer that we had didn't go ultra wet the way that we've seen the past couple of years. That got hot and it led itself to being quite dry and slick at times. Is there any conscious challenge, so to say, like this weekend we're going to try and put a little bit more water to it so that they've got a little bit more to work with, or we're going to leave it a little bit drier so that it's wider, things like that?
No doubt. You always got to know your environment and know the climate that you're dealt with for the week, and we'd always check the forecast on Thursday before we got real serious about prepping for Friday. And Eric, Fink, and I would go over it, look at it, and Harvey, and if it's going to be real hot, and real dry, you had to sock it to it a little bit more. But our biggest challenge is just making sure the pond doesn't dry up.
Right.
That was a challenge that I think a lot of tracks probably faced, was their sources, their water sources, drying up. I know even at Fulton, where we actually pull right from the Oswego River, we had to actually build a better platform in which for the pump to draw the water because it got so low. So, those are the challenges that you face, when you're trying to make sure that you get a track prepped the way you need it to be. And, truth be known, we pulled it off real good. Right. Sometimes you hear complaints that it's too fast or it's too slippery, but I can't think of too many times that the track caused a wreck, and that's something we're real proud of.
That's something to be very proud of. You also had a lot of situations where the track went, or the features went green to checkered with no stoppages. If they
we had a good run for a while. Then we did add clay mid-season, which is of course fairly controversial, but it's about the time we could do it and be able to do it. So we did it, and we had a week or two that was a little rough, but after that we got it real good, and I think it's better than ever right now. It's going into tomorrow night. I mean, we should see a barn burner. This week or tomorrow night with this show and the clay that that we got down.
I want to come back to that track prep scenario. I didn't word the question quite well. I'm with you, and I understand, playing the elements, and you got to make sure that you don't put too much water to it in the event that weather's coming, and you don't want to leave it so dry that you can't do anything with it, and it's so slippery that you can't move forward and you've got no bite. In terms of, let's put this in football terms or in baseball terms. Maybe they got a team that's coming into town that puts the ball in the ground better than they put it in the air, so maybe your groundskeeper doesn't cut the grass short, so it's longer. And the ball is going to get bogged down, so your infield has a better shot at it, and it slows the ball down. Is the racetrack element, can you play chess with the drivers a little bit, or is the goal just to keep it consistent? Can you try and put more water to it and say, our target is going to have a heavy night tonight, our target is going to have a dry night tonight, our target is going to have, to try and chess match the drivers and challenge them, or is it a case where you just simply want the same surface week in and week out that's consistent and let them settle it?
It was probably more a matter of if we did anything in the chess match, it was more about the order of events. When we put things out there, more so than the track itself. Like we very rarely, we don't consciously try to vary our approach to the track prep.
Okay.
We have a set program how we like to do it, and consciously we won't vary from that. What we would do, however, is for instance. If a division that wasn't suited for a heavier track or tackier track sometimes might get moved to later in the program.
Gotcha.
It didn't happen that way as much as I would have liked this year.
Sure.
We had, we kind of set ourselves on a little different chain of events that we wanted the modified race to pretty much be the last event week in and week out, and So we really didn't do that as much as we would have liked, but that's typically in the past how we've handled that is just adjusted the order.
Gotcha, and I can see some sense with that too, because you don't want to stick narrow tires out there on a heavy track.
Right.
Go ahead. What was that?
Yeah, and like I know at Fulton, Fulton's a good example of divisions. We had a few more divisions, so we could juggle things around a little bit there more. Somebody that maybe had been naughty the week before, we could adjust, and run them later in the show. For a couple of reasons. One, because, their performance the week before, wasn't fan-worthy. And two, because quite simply, maybe that's the type of surface they want to be on. But, hey, some people like it heavy and tacky and bitey, and some people like it slow and slick. And we like to try to be somewhere in between, and that's kind of our goal.
In terms of this weekend, last year it was Billy Decker coming away with the win, and the duel at the Demon. He was
after like 3 tries. We're hoping. Well, the fortunate thing is we have like 0 chance of rain tomorrow, so it looks beautiful for tomorrow evening. Probably going to be just about perfect race conditions. Cool evening. Sunny during the day, and I know we already have a bunch of campers up in the yard, and so if nobody there is going to be in any danger of having any rain out. So should be a hell of a show. Right on.
A lot of fun this year getting to watch Max McLaughlin learn the modified.
Yeah, it's probably bigger as the near misses. The poor kid. I mean, he definitely got talent.
Yeah,
there's a lot of skill there, and he's so close to cracking the victory lane. And he had a uke tire incident, I think at least once. Got nosed out at Fulton by Larry by literally the length of a bumper, and so he's been right there knocking on the door. It wouldn't surprise me. With the equipment he's got, it wouldn't shock me at all if one of these big events here down the stretch, we saw him at very least on a podium finish.
Tell me a little bit about some of the other stuff that we've got planned this weekend. We're looking at giving away some guaranteed starter spots. The winner of the Sportsman race gets a spot in the Outlaw 200, and it's also going to get a spot at the dirt track at Charlotte Sportsman Invitational that's coming up.
Yes. Of course, our own inside series sponsored by our friends at Industrial Tire CNY. Each of our major sportsman events were all qualifiers for the Outlaw race, which, of course, that weekend is a 2-day show and pays $2,500 to win. And this year it's a DIRTcar Sportsman Series show. But again, we'll be 50 laps, and again, paying the same money. And so, of course, tomorrow night is one of those qualifiers. So the winner tomorrow night will get that spot. And on the DIRTcar front, being a DIRTcar series event tomorrow, each DIRTcar series show, which we've had so far, there's been 6 run, and each of those winners is a guaranteed starter for the invitational portion, which is Friday night of the World Short Track Championships down in Charlotte. Which, so I've had a lot of drivers. How do I get into that invitation? They're calling me and asking the question. This is one of the ways. Win this race tomorrow night, and you're in. And has no bearing on the next show, the main show, which is the following night. It has no bearing on that. But it's a little perk, just come into Brewerton, and if you're lucky enough or fast enough and smart enough to walk away with a win, you've got a couple of big bonuses, for winning the race. So that's kind of the deal.
Sportsmen were just as competitive as the modifieds over there this year at Brewerton. Ron Davis coming away with the win, but battles front to back.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd like to brag and put our field against any field out there. Our Brewerton Sportsman field was tough as nails, and you're doing something when you win a race there, against those guys. So, we expect tomorrow night a battle royal. Our regular guys, and then there'll be a spattering of Mohawk and Cornwall cars and Brockville cars, and then a spattering of Quebec cars, and then hopefully some of the stronger regional runners here, the Dave Marticellis and the Rocky Warners of the world, should be joining us as well. I would anticipate. So, these are things that are on their radar, and they want that spot in Charlotte, and also the spot in the Outlaw race to go into that weekend. Last year we had 82 entries. To go into that weekend knowing you're in the show, certainly has to help.
Take some pressure off. So, as good as those two divisions were, you've got a great card over there at Brewerton. But pound for pound, who's the deeper division over there at Brewerton for the last 4.5 months? The modifieds or the sportsman cars?
Well, I think at every track, depth-wise, every track the sportsmen are,
right.
Simply because of the costs and there's a ton of teams out there. I mean, honestly, across the Northeast climate, it's probably 5-to-1 the number of sportsman cars to the number of big blocks.
Right.
However, as far as the competition, I mean, you really can't throw out or discount how tough the field was at Brewerton this year. I mean, we averaged 23 cars, and we had, I believe we had 10 different winners, maybe 11. I can't remember, I don't know for sure. Out of those 23, I mean, we had 40 unique entries over the course of the season. So, I mean, certainly, Brewerton's always known for the quality of the field, and I think that going into tomorrow, obviously, the invaders will come in and be strong, and but I think there's a bunch of guys ready to hold serve.
So, adults 15 years and older, granted admission is $25. 14 and under, it's only 10. Pits are 40. Pit gate's going to open at 4 o'clock. Grandstands open at 5:30. Hot laps at 6:30. Time trials at 6:45. Heats at 7:30 at Brewerton for the. Did I get the right? Yeah, that's the one. Jeez. Panicked there for a second. I thought I was looking at the wrong file. That's over at Brewerton Speedway for the Duel at the Demon. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what's coming up with Outlaw weekend, because you guys are going to be stacked with entries for that one.
Yep. We get through. Actually, the funny part was we used to enjoy a whole month off.
Not anymore.
Labor Day would come, we'd run, and then we'd have a whole month to prepare for the Outlaw weekend. And this, the last 2 years, we've thrown this Duel with the Demon in the mix. Of course, last year it was, problems with rain a couple different times, so it made it really challenging. But, 2 weeks later, we'll come right back with one of the granddaddies, 31st year, 20,000 to win, big block, small block, sail panels, Hoosier tires, go at it, 200 laps. And it's always typically one of the most competitive races that I ever see on a given year. I mean, four wide, 5 wide, You never. We were laughing about it actually the other day about probably the coolest part of the event is the lap 100 break.
Yep.
And how many guys dial in and how many guys dial out.
Right.
And and that's the intriguing part of that event is who outthinks the other guy themselves and who outthinks the other guy, and I think that's a lot of it because that track usually gets black, slick, never takes rubber. It's just black and smooth all the way across, and you got a hook to it. And usually the break is when they figure it out. And,
yep.
I know last year if I recall, it was a pretty dominating win from green to checkered, but for Billy. But I think that you never know with the quality of the field we always get. You never know, and I think that's the cool part of that event is that that 200 laps, a lot of changes happen. Cars change, tires change, and of course the crews have to decide at the break what it's going to do the second half, and that makes for some pretty good intrigue.
And that track is pretty forgiving. When you think about the number of laps that get turned on that racing surface through the course of that weekend, by the time they're ready to roll off that 200 lapper, it's already seen, just thousands of laps when you think about it. And it holds together fine, and it's racy. You can go all the way to the wall or all the way to the inside, and whatever groove's working for you, as long as you've got a clean road in front of you, you can use it.
Yeah, it's a pretty big testament to the track crew, like I've brought up a couple times. Those guys just know what to do. Harvey's done this for so long. He knows what to do to make that track just like that and give them wide and lots of room to race. I can, 2 years ago we had some rain issues, 2 or 3, and it got to be, a hard deal because it was pretty hammered down. But last year, most years, it's just wide and smooth and lots of room to race, and they'll be fanned out all across the racetrack, and you like I said, you never know who surges, and it's just a wild show, and that's the cool part about that event, and I like seeing guys like last year. Danny Varon makes a very unbelievable charge up through the field and finishes in the runner-up spot, and it's just and again does it in like the last 50 laps, and those things what make this event really truly special, and. I really think that, as we look towards Oswego, in Super Dirt Week, I think that they have to look at the surface presented at Fulton
mm-hmm.
as a pretty big model for what they're going to try to do on Sunday for 300 laps.
You can
no ifs, ands, or buts as far as I'm concerned.
Certainly learn a lot. In terms of in terms of that, let's jump on that. Have you guys heard anything from Oswego in terms of what they're planning? Have they come and explored anything? Has there been any input from Fulton about what to do?
Working hard. Between the Oswego staff and I know that the clay starts going on Monday.
Right.
That Monday the first shovel goes in the pile and brings it to the racetrack, and so they've got a game plan. They've whether it be the World Racing Group and DIRTcar staff to the Oswego staff. You go up there even prior to this weekend with the Race of Champions going on. Even prior to this, I was up there about a week ago. There was probably 40 people working on the grounds,
wow.
making stuff happen, and so they're into it. And this thing will be, it'll be a, I know the eyes of the world are on it, but I got to say, they got a lot of good people in place to make this thing be as successful as it needs to be, and I really think they will. I think it's going to be a truly something to behold and something to see.
In terms of the Outlaw 200, where did that break at the 100-lap mark come from? There's no room really to do pit stops. Was it a competition red flag? Was that the impetus to break at 100?
It predates me, so I don't really know. I inherited it, and but it's a necessary caution because honestly they can't make it on fuel. So
there's no way you can make it. No.
And nobody wants. Truth be known, we don't really have suitable pit stop facilities.
Right.
So to do a live pit stop wouldn't be suitable. So
no.
The next best thing is take that break and and give them enough time to do just enough to be dangerous, but not but not enough to do too much. So gears, tires, fill it up with some fuel and put some tear-offs on, and adjust the shock or two, and get back out there. You got enough time to change gears, and that's about it.
You alluded to the Hurricane race, and you mentioned the World of Outlaws. Both of those races coming up within. I mean, you jam so much into this 4-week stretch. It's amazing. You guys you're really missing that month off, it would seem.
I missed the month off.
Do you miss it? I mean, if just looking at the schedule,
really.
did you guys
I'd rather
know?
keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's especially one that we can hopefully make some money on tomorrow, and hopefully, all the fans can see a great show, and so I don't miss that. I mean, I wouldn't want to not have this event. You need it.
All right.
And the Super DIRTcar Series should be at Brewerton. I mean, we don't like to do it midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
Midweeks really don't work real well at Brewerton, but unlike other tracks. Some tracks can pull it off, some don't. And we're one of those that really doesn't really benefit us to do something on a Tuesday or Wednesday or a Thursday in the middle of the summer. It's a hard sell for some reason. And so for us to be able to be afforded this opportunity, through the DIRTcar people, we'll gladly take it. And Jimmy actually came to me this spring and said, hey, why don't we, because he was kind of in limbo with Weed Sport, where they wanted to, put one. And, so we said, why don't we go back to back and give all the fans from all over the Northeast a chance to, to come, park their motorhomes, and within 40 minutes of each other have two, big shows on back-to-back nights, and without having a lot of travel. And I think it's going to work out well. I just hope the weather holds out for them.
Saturday's looking a little bit iffy. We got to go over to Dunkirk for an event on Saturday, but the Super DIRTcar Series.
So rain or shine with what you do, though.
Yeah, it gets expensive though because that electrical equipment doesn't get real happy with it.
Yeah, and the quality of the show, I'm sure, when it's muddy, isn't nearly as good as when it's a little, just slightly wet. But
yeah,
we had great demos, at our shows too this year at Fulton. I know you're into that pretty heavy, and John King brought us a great field of entries both the spring and the fall, so we're real happy with that this year.
Tommy Goodspeed, he's a force to be reckoned with. He did a nice job over there earlier this year with John King's events, and that's where we're headed. We're having the Lake Erie Rumble. It's a charity event held at the Chautauqua County Fairgrounds for the Variety Kids, one of the in the Children's Hospital in Buffalo. So we're looking forward to that, but hopefully the rain, like you said, stays off. Because after the DIRTcar tour leaves Brewerton on Friday, they head over to Weedsport for $10,000 to win 100-lapper there on Saturday. Then the race is going to be $500 to start. Napa Sportsman Shootout Series is going to be in action, $1,000, 25 laps, that feature. Gates are opening at 3 o'clock. General admission gates open at 4. Hot laps planned for 5:40. And then Saturday night over there at Weedsport, they've got the Portside Party featuring Under the Gun. General admission $25. You can't beat it. And then on Sunday, the Napa Sportsman Shootout Championship is going to pay $2,000 to win to the winner of the 50-lap main. The Go Nuclear late models and the NY6A 600cc micros are going to be on the card. On Sunday, gates open at 3 o'clock. Same schedule, 5:40 for hot laps, racing at 6. General admission $15 for Sunday. Students 11 to 17 or 5, kids under 10 admitted free for the Weedsport program. I was wondering how much conversation you might have had with your track champion Jimmy Phelps and the general manager over there of Weedsport, Jimmy Phelps, in terms of making this thing work. But as you said, that conversation happened. It works out great. I mean, you don't have to go far at all to make both of these shows work.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, as through the years, and sometimes some events, it's not beneficial to have them, the same show back to back. Something like the World of Outlaws, it's really hard to have two huge shows when it's a huge dollar ticket back to back. But when it's when it's a reasonable price, like the Super Dirt Series is, and we get a lot of local, or not so much local, but 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour radius people that can come in and just camp for the weekend and relax. And I think it works out and suitable, very suitable for them, without putting them through too much too much of a hurdle. So, they'll have some unique fans. We'll have some unique fans, but you'll have a bunch that go between the two, and hopefully both do well.
As a fan, it seems like if you have to choose between one or the other, you're going to pick one. Whichever one you pick is whichever one you pick, but you're going to pick one. And it seems like with racing anyway, when you add that element of camping, you've got the ability to go someplace, all the cost goes out the window, all the picking goes out the window. If they can hook up their camper and go camp someplace and have a good time after the race is over and go see another race, it just seems like they're far more likely to buy into a 2 or 3 race sequence through the course of a weekend. It turns into a mini vacation. This time of year, you're fighting against football, you're fighting against back to school and all this other stuff, but race fans, they see the chance to go camp, they're going to go no matter what.
Yep. Not a question. Like I said, we already have a bundle of campers over there now, and that's it goes back to the old days, Chris. I mean, you think about back in the days, everybody knew where every weekend was. You always knew the first weekend after Labor Day, the second, the third, the fourth, Syracuse, and then down to Eastern States. And it was like six or seven straight weekends, and everybody knew where everybody was going to be. And a lot of that's gone away. It's sad, but it's been very fragmented now, but understandably. I mean, every track needs to try to make money and needs to run events in their mindset anyway. In some cases, I think some of them are foolish, but they all feel like they need to race. That Labor Day is too early to shut down, so they continue to go. But I mean, those were the old days when we used to. I mean, it was everybody was at Lebanon, and then everybody was at Fonda or wherever the next weekend was. And I mean, it was just bam, 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 right in a row. And those were the glory days. But this gives everybody a fighting chance of, hopefully a good local weekend, back-to-back shows, and really 3 days if you want to do all three. But if you're just a mod fan, just the 2 nights. But it's plenty of opportunity. How's
the summer been otherwise? I'm sure you've been staying plenty busy, but did you get a chance to take
it? There's a few of those Fridays you're going, please turn off the heat, but because boy, it was a little challenging a few of those days getting people to come out. I don't blame them. It was pretty hot, but we got through them and made some money, had a good summer, and like I said, the pits were good. We had an increase in our sportsman field all summer from the year before, and our mod light field recovered nicely from the year before. We'd had a rough 2015 and 16. We really had a nice field there, and our 4-cylinders stuck with us through thick and thin. So we had a good year on that front. So, and Fulton was even better yet. I mean, we were Fulton 100 cars consistently,
right?
Week in and week out through 5 divisions. So you really can't argue with that. Anytime you can eclipse the 100 car count these days on a given race program, you got to be pretty happy.
What's the secret to the crate late models? I mean, you guys seem to be doing pretty strong over there, and other tracks are not. At least in the Greater Finger Lakes area, they're struggling with that. Yours seems like it's doing pretty healthy.
Well, I think it was just sticking with them. Number one, we needed to reassure them that they were going to be here to stay. And that was something that it's funny how I hear the rumors year in and year out from various divisions. They call me. People that know me or whatever feel comfortable calling me. Will call me and ask me, I heard you're dumping us. I'm like, where do you hear this stuff? Like, where does this come from? Like, not of all divisions, I got to call a novice sportsman. I heard you're dumping the novice sportsman next year. I'm like, novice sportsman is like, it's invaluable to us. I mean, this year we literally had to run double features for them, which is our kind of our policy.
Right.
Of 16 or more cars, we always split the field so they don't tear each other up too bad.
Sure. We
split it in half and run, two features. And we had to do it every week, but like 3 the whole year. And so I'm like, where do you guys hear that? But that, on a side note, I mean, that's where the late models, I think for years, we're hearing that stuff. And for us to come out and literally just say, you guys are with us. And I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I do got to give Shane Tenase a lot of credit. Shane did a lot to help get guys in cars. over the years, and especially the last two, even though he himself stepped away from the seat this year, he had planted the seed pretty heavily with a lot of drivers and got guys in rigs and in rides, and I think that helped us as well. And I think that group kind of sticks together, and I think they help each other through it. And I think that's a lot of it too. And but it's funny, like we tried the 305 route, and that didn't really fly. So there's that's maybe more, like this late model deal is a more suitable alternative for our track versus a 305 sprint car. The other thing that happened was we had a pretty high graduation rate from the IMCA cars that we no longer ran at Brewerton. So Chris Fleming, who was our champion again this year, Kevin Cook, both IMCA stalwarts over the years. These cars are very similar to an IMCA modified.
Sure.
So their comfort zone of jumping from one to the other certainly helped that transition. And and actually quite a few of them have at least dabbled in that. Dane Keller Jr., I know he didn't come out, I don't think this year yet, but because I know he got married, but he, he's another one, and there's been a variety of them and I'm probably missing somebody, but that jumped in from the IMCA level.
So while it might be a little bit premature, I'm sure you haven't gone into any of your off-season meetings, but with the sounds of it, then no major changes to any of the lineups at either track then for next year?
No, all classes remain the same. Let's go on record right now.
There you go.
We're very happy with the growth on all levels, whether it be modified, sportsmen, obviously, and our novice sportsmen. Mod lights are great, and our four-cylinder guys have really, that's been a real fun growth this past couple of years. Those guys are, really coming together. So we're real happy with everything.
Awesome. So everybody can shut off their Facebook now and quit spreading the rumors. There's nobody going anyplace at this point. That's good news for everybody that's got a car that runs at Brewerton and Fulton. Everything's safe.
Status quo for next year.
I can't believe we've been talking for almost 40 minutes here. I don't want to keep you all night. But at the same time, first, I forgot to ask you, how's the golf game?
Good. Just pretty consistent this year.
Yeah.
Actually, probably not consistent. I think that would be. That's probably a lie. I had some rough runs, but I still play a lot, as much as I can. So it's I very greatly enjoy it. It's one of my big diversions, and if I don't answer the phone a lot of time, that's probably where I'm at.
Did you get to any new courses this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, actually.
No.
I don't believe I played anywhere new. Nope.
So in June,
Here.
I went golfing for the first time. I had never been, and I am not anything close to a natural. I was horrible. We had an event with the school that I work at, Mid Lakes, and we went to one of the courses in Geneva. And I think through the first 4 holes, I lost 8 balls. And
it can happen. It can happen. They come out, the little gremlins come out and just grab it from you. I don't know where they go. But
I knew exactly where they went. Most of them went into the pond.
Exactly. I had a few of those this year. I had I think the August yips I had for a while. I had a 3 or 4 week stretch where I had to basically give it up for a week and just not play, and then I kind of turned it around. But I think this driver's broken. Driver's got to be broken.
That's what the issue is.
That's the only reason that it can't be going anywhere. But turns out it's not, and it's me, and it's just whatever. But no different than any other hobby. You take a little break from it and get back at it. But I greatly enjoy it, and I wish I was ready for the senior tour, but that'll never happen.
I wanted to blame my golf clubs, but half the clubs that I was using I had found out to the side of the road in a pile during fall cleanup, and the rest of the clubs, like the putter and a couple of the wedges that I got in a bundle of clubs that I bought from a guy that I work with for $5. So all in, I had $5 invested. So if I had to break one or two,
hey, no matter what, you're in the game.
Yep, in the hunt. But our attention back to the racetracks. I know you got a ton of people to help make it possible. We've talked about the grounds crew, the huge support that you got from the fan base in that area, the great support that you've had from the drivers, eclipsing 100 cars on a regular basis at Fulton, and the great cons you've had at Brewerton. Is there anybody else that you wanted to make mention of here before we head out for the evening?
Well, we got a great group of officials that, no matter what I ask them to do, they do it. And, we're thankful for those guys. And, of course, all the rest of the staff that comes week in and week out and supports us, as well as, we have great sponsor base at both tracks. And I really got to thank all of our sponsors for supporting us and making things happen at the tracks. And, as we roll into the Outlaw, a lot of those sponsors will be showcased. And we're real happy with the way things have been going.
Super DIRTcar Series in town at Brewerton tomorrow. Going for 100 laps, and also the DIRTcar Sportsman Series is going to be in town. Big doubleheader over there at the Brewerton Speedway. You can find out more online, www.brewertonspeedway.com. Email Cory if you got questions, Cory, C-O-R-Y, at brewertonspeedway.com. Just give you a rundown again on the schedule. Grandstand gates open at 5:30, hot laps at 6:30, time trials at 6:45, racing at 7:30. 15 years and older, it's only $25 to get in the door. 14 and under is $10. Pits, it's only $40 to get in there. Get right up close and personal with all the stars with those two great series that are going to be in there on Friday. Cory, man, appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with us. Hotel accommodations real quick before we let everybody go. Days Inn of Brewerton and Comfort Suites of Cicero are both letting you catch a little bit of a break if you decide to stay overnight. Otherwise, you don't want to miss the party with the camping and stuff. The atmosphere there, always awesome at either one of the tracks. Outlaw 200 weekend coming up in 2 weeks. Cory, you're going to be a busy guy, but thanks for taking some time out for us tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
It's always a good time, man. Cory, we'll talk to you soon here when we get closer to Super Dirt Week.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, Cory. We'll see you later. There goes Cory Reed wrapping things up for Brewerton Speedway's Duel at the Demon coming up tomorrow night. That is going to do it for this edition of the 31st Lap. Looking forward to finding out who pulls down the wins this weekend at Brewerton and Weedsport. Everybody get out to the races. Say hi, cheer on your favorite driver. That's going to do it for episode number 210, coming up on another anniversary edition here real soon. Hopefully we'll hear from Mike and maybe John, maybe Rich Post. But we're going to get out of here for now. Looking forward to seeing everybody right back here again next week. Thanks for watching.